And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer.
Howdy folks, Darren back with you here at Cross Timbers Farm. Welcome to 8th Day Chronicles. Glad to have you with us. Our subscriber numbers are growing here on our channel and our family is expanding. We're glad to have you with us, and if you haven't, we'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe to our channel. As you can see in the skies behind me here, a foggy August morning here on the farm. Temperatures right now here in August are, this month so far has not been as hot as July, but it's been warm. We've been in the mid 80s to upper 80s some during the day, and mornings out on the farm is nice, and late evenings because the temperature's cooler. But anyhow, you can see that I'm here with our DIY solar fence charging system. Back in the winter, we built our own solar fence charging system. There's a lot of good videos on YouTube on how to build one. We watched a lot of those, and we took up the chore of building our own, and so far we've had some issues, but I think we finally have those issues worked out. Back in the winter, we built our own solar fence charging system using components we bought and put all those together to build our own system. And we've been running this thing for about 3 months now, a little over 3 months maybe. And it is finally now, for the last 3 months, running fantastic. To start with, we had issues. Some of those issues were my fault because I bought some components that I probably shouldn't have to start with. Number one being this thing. You notice it's no longer in our box. And we had some other issues that we have finally, after some headache, got them all, those problems eliminated, and some different components in the system, as you may saw on the opening segment there. We got some new components installed, and for the last 3 months or a little more, this system has now been running fantastic. If we ever need new fence chargers on our farm, this is the route we're going to go. I'm done with buying standalone complete systems, solar systems. I'll build them like this and build it myself with different components. This one's working great. I'm getting better power. It will sustain longer periods of no sun, just because of the more robust build than you can get in a standalone system. And when I say standalone, I mean like one that comes with a little solar panel and the battery already in it, which those are good, don't get me wrong, but I'm finding this one's, to me, my opinion, superior. All right, let's go into what our issues was. We haven't done an update on our fence charger build in quite a while, and it's been about three months or so, a little longer. So let's update you on what we had problems with, so maybe you can avoid those same mistakes if you decide to go this route. Problem number one that we had was this thing right here. I alluded to that several times in the original build video that This little cheap $10 charge controller was very user unfriendly. This thing was hard to use. For someone very experienced in solar installations, some folks may have wondered, why is he having a problem with that? Well, when you're new to solar, this thing to me was extremely hard to use. You can set values on your charge controller, and one of the main values that I discovered was you need to be able to set your charge controller to a certain value where you don't overcharge your battery. What's typically referred to as float mode. You can go, when your battery charging reaches a certain point, you can have your charge controller to stop the flow of voltage or wattage into your battery to keep it from burning that battery up and overcharging it. This thing apparently was factory set for a particular value, which I felt was probably a little too high. I would try to reset it down to a lower value, and it would stay for a short time and then jump back up. The instructions and everything about this little cheap charge controller was very user unfriendly. Is that a word? I guess it is, user unfriendly. This thing got jerked out and a new one put in. Let me show you the one we went with. This one we have in the box now is a Rich Solar. This one has a very large LCD screen that's very easily to read. You can read it very easily. Large letters and numbers, large buttons to make your adjustments. Very nice, larger connections here, your terminals for your wires to connect for a very positive connection. This Rich Solar 40 amp, this one is a MPPT charge controller. The little cheap one was a pulse wave. My understanding is these are heads and shoulders better than the pulse wave ones. This charge controller really increased the overall price of our build. This Rich Solar 40 amp MPPT charge controller price is somewhere between $175 and $200. So it really increased the overall price of our build. But when you're talking about your animals being inside a fence, and that fence not only containing them but protecting them, that fence not going down, having a reliable system, this was well worth what we paid for it. This thing is very user-friendly. Even a novice to solar like me can understand this charge controller. Very easy to use. Right out of the box, I was able to set my parameters and values where I wanted them, and they stay. I can't say enough good things about this Rich Solar charge controller. I wished I'd have bought it to start with. Yes, it made our budget for our build go way up, closer to the limit, but it was well worth it when the safety and concern of your livestock, you know, is on the line, so to speak. This has proven so far very reliable. It's been in operation for a little over 3 months, and we've had absolutely zero issues with it. Fantastic piece of equipment. Sometimes you get, let me pull this out of my pocket. Sometimes you get what you pay for. The second issue we had with our DIY fence charger build was our actual fence charger. I've been a Parmac supporter in the past. We have 2 of the Solar Pack 12 fence chargers, and those are a standalone unit. They come in a waterproof container that contains the battery, contains the solar panel is already attached. When you buy one of those units, all you have to do is mount it to a post, run your wires to it, and turn it on. With this system is a little different. You buy the components separately and put them together. However, if you want a standalone unit that you have to do nothing else to, just mount it and go, we have had excellent service out of those Solar Pack 12s by Parmac. I've done a review on those, and we've had them in operation for several years on our farm, and we have had 0 issues. We have not had to contact Parmac customer service over any issue with those 2 chargers. They have worked fantastic. However, for our original build with this system, we bought another Parmac. We bought a Parmac Magnum 12 UO. That charger is basically just like the Solar Pack 12s, except it only comes with the fence charging unit. It does not have the solar panel. It does not have the battery. That's something that you add. It's a 12-volt unit. We bought one of those for this build, and you can go back in our playlist and see that. Without going into great details, I will just say I will not buy any more Parmac products. I have been a Parmac supporter for several years, and I still believe those Solar Pack 12s are fantastic chargers. However, if you have issues with those, you may be on your own. We had issues with our Magnum 12. It would not produce enough power for our fence. When we hooked it up to this system, take a fence charger, and we connected it right to the terminals, and we got 8,000 volts. Just as soon as we put a load on that charger, and not a big load, we're talking 4 strands of 12.5 gauge wire around 3.5 acres, which would be somewhere, if you take 4 strands around 3 acres, that would be, you could maybe say that's 12 acres, which is still small. A 12-acre pasture, it would be a small pasture when you consider some large pastures that folks have. When we installed that Magnum 12 and we tested it right at the terminals, we got 8,000 volts, which is fantastic. Just as soon as we hooked it to our switches and turned the load on to that charger, we immediately lost over 5,000 volts, and it would only charge our fence at about 3,000 volts. If you're familiar with goats and electric fencing, you probably realize that 3,000 volts on an electric fence is not going to keep your goats contained, and it's not going to keep predators out. My recommendation, if you have goats, if you have them conditioned already to an electric fence, probably 3,000 might work. But if you bring a new animal onto your farm and they're not conditioned to an electric fence, 3,000 volts is not going to contain them. Those goats are going to get out. My recommendation for goats is a minimum of 6,000 volts. I think you need at least 6,000 on your fence to successfully contain goats on a daily basis. When we hooked the Magnum 12 to our fence, we immediately lost 5,000 volts. It dropped to 3,000 from 8. This was a brand new fence install, so none of our insulators were weathered, and damaged from sunlight and UV rays and cracked and bad connections. I walked this fence repeatedly several times and checked every single insulator, every single connection. Everything was good. I checked the grounding system, and your fence is only as good as your grounding system. We had 3 5-foot grounding rods, galvanized grounding rods, spaced 10 feet apart, more than enough grounding. Still cannot get that charger to go above 3,000. One time I think I seen it about 32. Very poor performance from that fence charger. Without going into any great details, I did contact Parmac customer service and I'll just say it was not a good conversation. There's a lot of those Magnum 12s that are out there. I'm sure you see them in a lot of farm stores, feed and seed stores. I'm sure there's a lot of those units out there, and they're probably decent units. However, the one I had, there was obviously an issue with that charger. I even hooked another charger to that fence, done nothing with the system other than unhook the Magnum 12 and hook another one straight to those same connections, and it performed flawless. Those other ones did not lose power. They powered this fence perfectly. 6,000 volts and up, 7,000. There was an issue with that charger, very obvious, but the conversation with Parmac customer service was, how do I say this? It was casting blame on the poor performance on the customer and not the charger. And I didn't understand that when I hook another charger to the fence and have no loss of power, and hook that one back to the fence and lose 5,000 volts. That told me that something was wrong with that charger. But it is what it is. I did send that charger to a friend of mine who was only going to charge a very small fence. He had like maybe not quite, probably even half an acre that he had some pasture pigs in, and he hooked it up to that, and it's running that smaller load fine. But when I hooked it to this 4-strand around 3.5 acres, pitiful performance. Excuse me, it's early. But anyway, the performance of that Magnum 12 was very subpar. And I'm sure there's some folks has those chargers that are having excellent service out of them. And I'm glad for you. However, the one we had, I fully expected Parmac customer service to probably tell me on the phone, hey, send us that unit, let us take a look at it. There could be an issue with it. But that was not the case. Immediately, it was just a cast fault on something besides your charger. Very unsatisfied with customer service, and I would still recommend those Solar Pack 12s. They're good chargers. However, I will say this: if you have those chargers and you do have an issue, you may be on your own as far as any kind of support or service. The ones that we've had zero issues with. They have worked well, but now that I know what I know about dealing with the Magnum 12, if we do have issues with those Solar Pack 12s, which in many years we've had none, but if we do, they'll just get replaced by another brand. I still think they're good chargers. Those Solar Pack 12s have performed very well for us. However, that Magnum 12, And like I said, there's probably a lot of those out there that are working great. However, the one we had, that particular one, did not perform as advertised. Charger has the same specs on it as the Solar Pack 12s. I can hook a Solar Pack 12 to that fence, and I've done this. Hook a Solar Pack 12 to that same fence and get almost 7,000 volts on the fence with a tester. Put the Magnum 12 on it, and it immediately dropped to around 3,000. Very poor performance. So, in any event, we replaced that fence charger with a Power Wizard. We went with the Power Wizard model PW 5000 XD. It is a dual powered energizer. It will run off of 12 volt as we have it here, and it'll also, with a different plug-in, will run off 120 AC. So you have that option. It's a 5 joule, a little bit more powerful than the Magnum 12, actually quite a bit more powerful. This Power Wizard is regularly putting out about 7,800 volts, between 75 and 7,800 volts on our fence. You'll have to excuse me. My coffee's, my morning coffee's finally settling. This Power Wizard has run for about 3 months now on this fence, and it has run flawless. So far, so good. Power Wizard, if I'm not mistaken, is the same company that makes Agritronics. And someone correct me if I'm wrong. Agritronics is the brand of hay moisture testers that we use. And I think they're based out of Ohio. Someone correct me if all that's not right. But so far, the PW 5000 XD Power Wizard has performed perfect. The Rich Solar charge controller has performed perfect so far in over 3 months of use. The Parmac Magnum 12 that we originally purchased and put in this unit was my last Parmac purchase. When you have a pretty loyal customer that repeatedly buys your product, and then you just kind of rudely brush them off when they have an issue. Didn't say it very well with me. I like for our channel here on 8th Day Chronicles to be positive, to be a place that people can come and watch some reviews on some products that they're interested in, and they can hear the truth about the reviews of those. It's a place they can come and not hear a lot of negativity. However, this is a, I guess you could consider it a negative review on 2 products, not just one. I would avoid this if I were you, if you're building a system like this. Even at $10, it's not worth it. It's an exercise in futility. It was for me. The Parmac Magnum 12, I was very disappointed in the performance of that charger. At the terminals, like I said, 8,000 volts. As soon as you put the load to it, in other words, the fence, as soon as you hook the fence to it, immediately lose 5,000 volts and get 3,000 on your fence. Poor performance. And but it is what it is, and that's not the end of the world. We move on, and we replaced it, like I said, with the Power Wizard charger. No problems. Replace this thing with the Rich Solar. Perfect. So, thanks for being with us here today on the farm. We've debated how to approach this review. A matter of fact, I've already done a couple of different videos on this and same topic, and deleted them because I felt they were really just too negative. I mean, I can say that I would not recommend this product without just getting very, very negative about it. So we like to smile and enjoy our day and help you enjoy your day and give you some good information without just being a downer. But if you have one of the Parmac Magnum 12s and it works great for you, drop a comment and let us know. It could very well be that it was only that unit we had that was bad. They may be hundreds of those things out there that are working perfect. However, the one we had was not up to par. It was quite poor in performance. What was even more disappointing was the response that I got from the company from CS, customer service, with the issue, the response that I received. So thanks for being with us today here on the farm, and glad you're here with us, and I pray that you and your family have a great day. God bless. This little DIY system works great. I've actually had some friends here at the farm visiting, and personal friends, and they see this little box with a solar panel sitting here and they go, "What is that?" And I walk them over and show them this, and they're farmers too. And I walk them over and show them the build, and I've actually had some pull out their phones and say, "Do you mind if I take a picture of that? I'm going to build myself one of those." That's fantastic. These little DIY systems are great. We love ours. It's working now, finally, that we've got better components. It's working perfectly. Very happy with it. And you'll notice the charge controller, this Rich Solar charge controller, you can see the size difference. It's a lot bigger unit, and because of that, we had built our box to fit this little one. And because of the size difference, this one's so much bigger, this one would not fit in here on the side of the wall like this one did. So we had to mount it up on the roof. And actually that's done very well because it's allowed good air circulation around all these components to keep them from overheating. Mounting it up on the roof has worked perfect. Very happy with it. It's a good little unit, and so far, even in hard rains and downpours, we've had absolutely no water to enter into the box, so everything's working great. If you're in the market for a solar fence charger system, I'd highly recommend building your own. There's some good videos out there on how to build them. Just do your research.